when it gets to the home run derby, Polar Bear, Pete Alonso, is like Mr. Derby now. And so, look, as a Metropolitan fan, we kind of kid about it a little bit. Like, this is our World Series, that we root for Pete Alonso to win this thing. And I have another tough first-round matchup. He's gone up against Rodriguez before, beaten him before. Sizable favorite in round one. First of all, as a Met guy, I would not back Pete to win this. I told you this time last year on this very network, I would have backed Pete to go back-to-back last year. The reason why I wouldn't this year, he's coming off injury. And, yeah, he's still hitting his fair share of home runs, but he does have another new guy throwing to him. It'll be the third time in 3 years. Now, he has one at the previous two. But I look at it, I almost kind of hope as a Met fan, selfishly, he loses in the first round of Rodriguez. So you can just rest, because I need you for the real stuff, not for this stuff. There's a guy out there that Stephanie, our producer's on, and I actually think this might be the right way to go. And you look at his first round matchup, he's a big favorite. And that is the kid on the south side of Chicago, Luis Robert, who is a man-child. Now, you got to lay over $2 for him to win his first round event. But, Matt, I know you've been noticing, he hits bombs, and he's the only bright spot on the south side. It does have an Alonso feel to it, where it's like, well, what else do I have to root for? At least 2 years ago for the Mets. Last year, the Mets were in first place this time. But I think Robert's going to be the hope and pride of Chicago, and I think for the whole thing, that would probably be the way if you made me pick a winner today, that's the guy I'd go with.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, Adley Rutschman, you don't really see it. We don't see too many switch hitters, right? In home run derbies either, right? What do you?
It's a feel-good story.
How do you figure? But how do you figure out whether you want to hit left-handed or right-handed? I don't know. Yeah, I mean, look, this is one of those. I agree it's the best, and I'm glad that the poll is saying this, and I'm glad that this is part of All-Star Weekend, and that's the reason why that baseball is winning in our poll, and certainly should be. But have you've heard this, and we've heard this multiple times, like guys saying that they go do the home run derby, and then it ruins their swing. Like that they don't. Yeah. It takes them 2 weeks to kind of get back into the normal. Hey, I'm not trying to hit every single thing straight up in the air and as far as I possibly can. And so I always get a little nervous when I see the names kind of roll out here, especially whenever you look at some of these teams. Like, well, you mentioned Alonso, but what about the teams that are there right now? What about the Adolis Garcias and the Randy Arozarenas and the Mookie Betts and stuff, where the teams, they're already there. And so you have these guys that are major contributors on your team, and you hear sometimes that it ruins these guys' swings for 2 and 3 weeks until they figure out how to get it back on track. Like,
it feels like a wives' tale.
I get nervous when I see these things.
I mean, it sounds like a wives' tale, but I think you could look back historically and say, yeah, normally guys that have won the Derby, they're at least slow out of the gate in the second half. It's not like they just pick it up right where they left off. It does take them a while. So that's where I get to the selfish part. If you feel like you have a team that's in there, if you're a Blue Jay fan, look, Vlad's been there in an epic battle with Pete before. Julio's been there for Seattle, an epic battle with Pete. They're always with Alonso here. I just think this could be the time for Luis Robert to kind of flex those muscles. And by the way, we're talking about the trade deadline. I hope they don't move him, because that's one piece they got on the south side that they need to build around and not look to move. Yes, they could get a king's ransom for him, but boy, oh boy, oh boy, I think this could be his showcase and his coming out party like it's been for Alonso. I mean, it really kind of put him on the map outside of New York, like you need to be put on a bigger map outside of New York. But by winning the first one and then repeating last year, that's kind of what Alonso's known for now.
So if you're just listening and not watching, we can tell you the odds right now. Pete Alonso 3-1, Vlad Jr. 360, 5-1 on Luis Robert.
Boom.
550 on Julio Rodriguez, 650 on Adolis Garcia, 950 on Randy Arozarena, 10-1 on Mookie Betts, which might be a little disrespectful. Why? Because he's a little guy. Have you seen the guy? He hits home runs. He knows how to hit it out of the park.
You worry about the little guy wearing out, though, as the rounds go.
And then Adley Rutschman is sitting at 17-1 to win it all. Now, listen, he's only got 8. He's sitting at 17-1. He's only got 11 homers on the year. That being said, he was one of the biggest prospects to ever come out of the minors. Was Adley Rutschman. He came to the majors and hit right away. His rating, like they give you the ratings when it comes to, raw power and different things that these scouts give you. He was a 60 out of 60 on the raw power scale as a prospect coming into baseball. So it's not like, it doesn't necessarily always translate to in-game stuff. Because look, Adley Rutschman also hits for average, right? I mean, he's finding gaps and he's doing different things like that. So I don't think he's completely dead in all this. But look, you're going to favor the bigger dudes because, as you mentioned, it just takes a little less to hit it out. and there's a little bit more oompa, a little bit more hindquarters, if you will.
Because you see these guys get tired.
It's the same deal like people watch the UFC and there's kind of like, what are these dudes? Why are they slowing down? Or go punch a punching bag for 90 seconds straight and then come talk to me. It's the same deal that like you just don't get it, but whenever you're swinging as hard as you can,
I get tired playing golf
over and over and over again, it wears you down for sure. And so I get why the bigger dudes are the shorter shots. Probably really and truly should be. And it wouldn't surprise me at all. Again, you mentioned Pete being hurt and all that, but dude, he's still hitting just missiles.
He hits, well, yeah, he does.
What was the home run he hit there? It was like 12 degrees of the launch angle or something. The most absurd home run I've ever seen or whatever.
Pure line drive.
And so, I mean, when you're talking about just the raw power stuff, like that is where the advantage for the bigger dudes comes in as well, too, because they can still hit out without getting it all. Right? Like, that's the other thing. It's some of these smaller guys like Mookie. Yeah, Mookie's got 20 home runs in the year. Mookie hit home runs, but he's not just muscling them out.
No.
He's got to barrel it up
it's
pretty
swing,
good. Yeah.
And the thing is with Pete, by the way, he made the announcement on ESPN last Sunday during Sunday Night Baseball against the Giants. Back then, the Mets looked dead in the water. So it was almost like this, what have I got to lose? He's like, hey, by the way, he makes the announcement. They go crazy in the booth the whole bit. I'm going to come back, try to defend my title, try to make it 3 in a row. And now a week later, like there's a glimmer of hope for the Mets. And I do think some Met fans are like, oh, Pete, do you need to go all out on this thing again? He's gonna.
Eating contest for the NFL week as well.
Does that cure it?
Because listen, you get the lineman. So that's how you get the lineman involved.
So like
it's not always just skill
guys. Like a Joey Chestnut.
Whatever. We get an eating contest in there as well for the lineman. See, people would love this so much more.
But this is why the poll question: why Major League Baseball wins with a long shot?
Every guy should have to weigh 230 to be in the home run contest. Like if you're not 230, yeah.
So Mookie's not 230.
No, that's what I'm saying. If you're not 230, you're out. Actually, I think that would get rid of like half of the guys. My guess would be that Rutschman, Betts, Garcia, and Arozarena are probably all not 230. Would be my guess.
I mean, I'd love to see what Luis Robert, like, put that guy in an octagon. Holy mackerel.
He's 230 strictly just because he's just a beast. I mean, like, yeah. I mean, it's all muscle for him.
So, again,
I'm fine with that. I mean, look, the matchups are Garcia versus Arozarena, Robert versus Rutschman, Alonso versus Julio, and then Vlad Jr. versus Mookie. I think the one that I would probably take, just Mookie at plus 170 over Vlad, because you'd want to take one of the smaller guys early, right? Like, because, like, before they wear out, before they tire out. So, I mean, like, that's where the rounds where you would look to kind of take advantage of all of that and like getting near, getting plus 170.
Well, then
on
do you
Mookie
worry about for Adley at 17-1? Now he's a big dog against Luis Robert in that first round. Would you look to him maybe to get that first round upset?
Yeah, I mean, I think any of these are possible,
sure,
right? Like any of these are certainly possible because you're just looking at, you get in a rhythm. You hear it all the time with the guys. Like they're just trying to get in a rhythm. Yeah, they're just trying to get in a groove. If you get in the groove, any of these guys can just crank them out left and right.
Is it still the best of all time when Griffey at Baltimore had on backwards the groove he was in?
I'm betting Mookie over Vlad.
You're gonna do it.
I'm doing it. Mookie early is the way to go, not Mookie late.
Robert
not a lot of hindquarters.
No. Robert
there.
late.
Yeah, for
Mookie early.
Yeah,
I'm with you on that.
Yeah, Mookie early.
What is the most memorable home run derby champion? Is it Griffey at Camden Yards in the early 90s? Had on backward, hitting the warehouse?
And again, like, it meant more back then, too. We liked it better, the contest.
Well, no disrespect to these guys, but if Shohei Ohtani's in this thing,
yeah.
Like, we got some stars. I mean, Pete Alonso is a star. Julio Rodriguez is a star. Mm-hmm. Vlad Jr. is a star. Mookie's a star. But it's not Shohei.
No.
But that's the one guy we all go, I want to see him hit.
You know what? I'm rooting for Adley, though. There it is. I'm on record. I'm going for the little guy here. I'm going for the underdog.
Go to VSiN.com/subscribe to become a VSiN Pro subscriber today.